100 days ago here at City Hall, history was made in the city of Johannesburg. The DA-led administration took power under the leadership of its mayoral candidate Herman Mashaba. It was here where the first council meeting was held, where Mashaba was voted into the position of mayor of Johannesburg. Well, let's take a look at his early days in office through the lens of Joburg Today. A celebratory moment, history in the making for the DA when Mashaba was voted into office. Meeting vigorously with the press to ensure his mandate is understood. Delivering in council to a contentious opposition, the African National Congress. Violent student protests in Braamfontein, which led to violent clashes with police and civilians, demanded his leadership. Flash floods in November leaves more than 6 people dead. The poorest of the poor loses their homes, possessions and loved ones. All of this calls him to action in the first 100 days in office. I also had the opportunity to sit down with the mayor on his very first day on the job.
For the first time in the 22-year history of our democracy that Johannesburg is under DA-led administration, and I'm the mayor to steer the ship. So I'm excited with this.
Major turning point, of course, yeah.
Major. I think we needed to save our country. We needed to get Johannesburg to drive our economy. If you look at South Africa over the last 100 years, Johannesburg has always been the economic engine.
On the 20th of September, we met with him at his office to gain insight on a few initiatives he was implementing.
Yeah, it's still settling, just under a month in office. But I think I'm quite pleased with our achievements. It's been great. It's been satisfying. When I go home, I sleep, obviously tired, but I sleep, get up in the morning, go to gym and come back here. And it's a kind of work where you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Sure. I want to talk about this current hot issue, the Fees Must Fall campaign. Protests taking place at Witwatersrand University, at universities across the country, different universities, following that statement by the Higher Education Minister on fee increments not exceeding 8%. The students are angry, they're upset. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this issue.
Well, it's a difficult situation because this is the government that promised our youth, our students, free education. What I need to understand, when they made this promise, whatever time, where did they think they were going to get the money from? Was it just politicking, or were they thinking that they were going to get away with it? Now, all of a sudden, it's caught up with them, and I think it's up to government to sort it out. But for me, as a South African, what concerns me is, where's the money going to come from for free education? Because if you look at the balance sheet of this country, sure, with all the best intentions, it is my wish and hope that one day I can live in a country where we can afford free education.
A lot of money has been spent on this eco-mobility agenda under the previous administration. You're saying it's a waste of money. Why?
Well, it's not a waste of money as such. It's not as simple as that. Let me tell you the rationale behind my decision. I think it's not something that I just woke up and took this decision. I live in Sandton. I've lived there for just over 18 years, and I love my suburb. And it's great for it to see more improvement. But on the other hand, I have my neighbors just across the freeway, 10 minutes away from my house, people of Alexander with no basic services, no real basic services. And now, when I come across 70 million rands being budgeted for further expansion of these bicycle lanes in Sandton and surroundings, and I'm saying no. This can't be correct. This can't be right. I think this money deserves to go to our communities where we can give them hope, can give them dignity. It's about actually closing these disparities within communities. I think we need to build bridges between communities. We just cannot afford to be spending everything in Sandton and affluent areas and leave our poor communities behind. For me, a thing like this, it's not negotiable. And I believe those communities deserve government intervention. And that's what government is all about, to ensure that we take care of the vulnerable members of your community.
Sure. And I think part of the agenda of eco-mobility was also to reduce congestion in and around the city itself. But the question is, what are we doing about solving our traffic light issues? It is extremely frustrating for me as a commuter as well. It's very hard to suck up the ongoing excuses coming through. Again, you've just taken office from the previous administration. I just can't figure out, and Joburg residents can't figure out, why can't we fix the traffic lights?
I mean, honestly, these are some of those weird things happening to Johannesburg. We have just Cape Town, traffic lights work there. London, Norway, in some of the most difficult weather conditions. And traffic lights in Johannesburg used to work. Something must have gone terribly wrong.
And this has been going on for years now.
And I've had discussions with MMC of Infrastructure Services. They really want them to really come out with a plan to get Johannesburg traffic lights working again, because this is proven technology. It's been around for what, 100 years or so? Mm-hmm. I cannot see why us as the city of Johannesburg cannot fix them. So I can promise people of Johannesburg traffic lights, maintenance and upgrade is going to receive our priority, because by so doing, then we can relieve traffic congestions on our roads.
Shortly after that interview, the Fees Must Fall campaign intensified in the streets of Braamfontein. Motorists driving by were pelted with stones and businesses were vandalized.
This is unacceptable, and from here I'm going to be going to the university to speak to the Vice Chancellor, and afterwards I'll be talking to some of the community leaders who are involved in helping us address this particular matter. Our view as a city, we're really very sympathetic. We empathize with the plight of our poor students. Without any doubt, we cannot ignore the fact that our students need intervention. But at the same time, we are saying to the criminal elements in particular, please don't sabotage the good work that our students are crying for. Because when we started getting ourselves involved with this, this amounts to criminal activity. This is not a matter to deal with student fees. This is pure criminality, and us as a city, we cannot tolerate it. We cannot accept it, and I don't really believe that any society, including our students, poor students, who are expecting government to assist with this matter of free education, this cannot be part of that.
Early days in office, the mayor seems determined to deliver on promises.
Mam Anna Dekhale has been living in Diepkloof, Soweto for 60 years, and today she literally becomes a homeowner of this beautiful place behind us.
I'm very, very, very happy. I've got my house now today. My great children's home. It won't die this home. It will remain being the Khale's home.
Following weeks of no rain and diminishing water supply in Johannesburg, finally, in November, the rains came. In torrents, wreaking havoc. Cars were washed away, along with homes. More than 6 people died in the flash floods.
I've just had a briefing at Senton Fire Station with our emergency services, the police, and with the MMC to address the immediate situation. So they're going to be drawing up a plan to look at the needs of our people, how many people are affected, and come out with a plan. We have to, unfortunately, as a city, we need the engagement and the cooperation of the provincial government. In fact, for me, we even need the national government to assist us to provide the housing, short-term housing for our people with immediate effect.
We had the opportunity to speak to those who keep an eye on the mayor for analysis and reportage, but also you, the public and citizens of Johannesburg.
I think it's been interesting to see how the mayor has taken over office, how he started to root out corruption, how he started to try to fix the problems that have been endemic in the city of Johannesburg for a while. The new administration is obviously going to be quite a lot smaller than the previous administration was under Parks Tau. I think we're starting to see a much more streamlined city of Johannesburg. I think we're still seeing the overall view of what you want Johannesburg to be in 2040 is much the same. However, the way we get about achieving that has changed a lot. I think the DA administration and Mayor Mashaba have gone a long way to looking to clear up the inner cities to try and get businesses back in the Johannesburg CBD, and just to overall try and get us growing economically and avoid the pitfalls of sort of city-run enterprises and rather privatize to, again, streamline the city. The importance here is that while there haven't been major issues in the city of Johannesburg, I think we know that there were large ANC patronage networks, so there were probably people employed within the city of Johannesburg who sort of had jobs while not actually doing very much. And then, well, we haven't heard it yet. You look at things such as the Johannesburg Youth Employment Propeller, which was run by Parks Tau's wife. So the issues like that are still sort of creeping in that we probably are going to unravel further. But the limiting of corruption is extremely important, because what we've seen recently, especially if you look at municipal audits, is that there have been massive spending issues within municipal governments, I mean, at provincial and national levels as well, but you have massive spending issues at local level where fruitless and wasteful expenditure is costing the city money and nobody actually knows where that money is going to. And I think this administration is going to try and limit that, much like the sort of partner administrations do in the city of Cape Town and probably will do as well in the city of Pretoria. Early in the year with the weather disasters, a lot of people have said that Mayor Mashaba's administration has been very slow to respond. There are still small things, you know, traffic niggles creep in and people say his administration has been slow to respond, but I think he's facing the problem of rising expectations. Because they have started to do so well, people are expecting a lot more instancy and urgency in the way their problems are handled, and I think we need to remember that it takes time, but overall what this administration has done so far has actually been very promising.
I think that Herman comes across as someone who doesn't want to be seen as a politician, the sort of traditional sense of someone standing up on a podium and telling people what they should or shouldn't be doing. However, I do feel that at times he does cross into that realm of being a politician. He uses a lot of language that a politician would use, and he says a lot of things that a politician would say. And I think this is an opportunity for someone like Herman Mashaba, who, you know, we see as the average Joe who made himself, he's a self-made man, to take the reins and really take control of this, rather than, you know, constantly sort of pandering to what other people are saying to him. I think he needs to make his own path, and I think he needs to fight and be strong in that regard, to be able to say, well, yes, there are all of these issues, but I'm focusing on a few of them and I'm going to get them done. I think that Herman should you know, look at what is really needed rather than what is perceived by the sort of, you know, the higher ups in government to say, well, these are the problems and those are the problems. And I think that's largely why the ANC lost so much ground, is because they were out of touch with the reality on the ground. And I think that Herman is running the risk in many ways of making that same mistake by constantly focusing on similar topics to what his predecessors would have focused on. Of course, we all hear people talking on the campaign trail. You know, someone like Donald Trump, which is very recent, is a good example, saying all kinds of things, and when it comes to actually doing them, they realize that it's actually a lot more difficult than it seemed. It's very easy to shoot the previous administration in the foot and say, well, you did nothing, I'm going to change everything. Well, it's been 100 days, and I think we are yet to see any real pragmatic changes within the city of Johannesburg, and really taking the bull by the horns and being able to say, well, you know, yes, service delivery, jobs, unemployment, illiteracy, etc., etc. Those are big issues and they are important issues. But let's pick one. Let's focus on one and let's solve one. And I know that Mr. Mashaba has chosen to focus on employment and the massive unemployment that we have in Johannesburg, which currently stands at about 22%. But at the same time, how is it going to be done? And I think communication is so vitally important. You know, in any kind of environment, we need to understand exactly what is being done, and the more people know and the more people understand, the more they get involved. You know, I don't feel like I can get involved at this stage in changing the way that the city of Johannesburg is functioning as much as I would, and I think there are thousands of people that would love to get involved and give Herman Mashaba a sort of a leg up and say, you know, I'm ready to help you and I'm ready to change things, but I need to know exactly what your plan is and how you're going to do it. So, you know, the cloak and dagger stuff, I don't think that it's necessarily being done purposefully, but it is a case of saying, well, here's our plan, this is our goal. At this point, he's saying that after 5 years, if he hasn't achieved what he set out to achieve, then we must vote him out. Well, people are worried about 5 years, sure, but most people are worried about tomorrow. And I think that's the reality that's being missed here by many politicians. And I hope that he does it differently.
Well, so far so good, but remember, Rome was not built in a day. So we'll have to give it some time. And I guess there was a lot that he still needs to be done. But so far, it's 7 out of 10. So we'll see how far it goes. But so far, so good.
I think, in my view, we are slightly in a hurry to try and see what they are doing and what they've done so far in the 100 days that they've been in the office. I feel like we are a bit in a hurry to do that. But we're still confident that they are going to change things in Johannesburg. So that one, I'm so sure that they will be able to change, because ANC as an opposition party in Johannesburg is still pushing to win back the seats that they lost. So I don't think that they will be able to sleep and be comfortable and be content that they have to do something.
I don't have any expectations anymore for anybody in office, because they've lied continuously, and they will tell another lie to cover another lie. So basically, as a person that's living in the 21st century, is that I don't care. They could be in 200 years in office. They're never going to rectify what they've done, as empty promises, they've never been delivered.
Generally, he's trying his best based on what has happened prior in terms of the old government. Okay, I hope that maybe can clear up those unshelved finances, because what I believe is that some of these guys were just doing this for themselves, not for we the electorate. I hope then he cannot just stop on his way to unravel all these things.
For me, Herman Mashaba is actually a businessman, not a politician or a leader. So I haven't noticed any changes, major changes, since he took office. Everything is still the same.
I'm Zoni Lengubeni and you're watching Joburg Today.
Please keep a close eye on our City News component, as we will be bringing you Herman Mashaba's 100 days in office speech. Also, don't forget to like us on Facebook, JoburgTodayTV, and follow us on Twitter @JoburgToday. From the team here, enjoy the rest of your week.